All right, so we just went around with the first question from the dialogue of how where did it go? How do you survive, stay in integrity, and even thrive in the context of mainstream insanity? This is a group that's doing organizing work around the region of New England related to building thriving and resilient communities, transforming our organizational cultures, things of that sort. So what struck you? What had value or meaning for you in what we've heard?
Scale, scale of uh, well, for me, scale that makes things manageable in the context of understanding of all the other work, incredible work that's going on around me, and that I just have my piece or region or location or cluster of close collaborators that I work with.
I'll go next. We were talking, a group of friends and I, over breakfast on Sunday morning, and we were thinking back. Some of us older ones were like, oh, it used to be really, really special if my family went out for ice cream. That was like a big deal in the 70s. It was like a huge treat. We were so grateful to our parents. And I was remembering some statistic I read that if in the US everybody went back to what was considered a middle class life in the 70s, like we would be pretty stable in terms of our footprint on the earth. And sometimes I just think to myself, what would we be doing right now in the 70s? Like instead of like I'm on my cell phone running around, I'd be sitting with a cord phone in one place, just listening. So I try to like go back in time and remember how okay we were in terms of like needs being met in like 30 years ago, or is that 40 years ago now? And just kind of like, it's a good little touchstone for me. Be like, we don't need so much. I don't need so much. And it helps me like slow down and appreciate like we used to, like simpler times. That's one little seed I'm taking to keep remembering that.
Baskin Robbins. Dairy Queen. Yeah, the scale thing also showed up. You know, I saw that as a theme that all of us touched on, and the right sizing or operating across many scales and sort of the both the challenges but the pleasure of that, as long as and how that can become overwhelming, and then finding ways to just do some self-care that hopefully is in a good way. I don't know. I have a weakness for fried chicken, can I say?
Comfort food, not a bad thing.
Depending on how the chicken is sourced and prepared and stuff. I've been doing some very high quality, well sourced little chicken tenders actually for a friend's 60th birthday party the other night, and then they're leftovers. So I've been the last 2 days I've had a treat to it. It's so good.
I guess I would add, I think there's an element of recognition in our conversation of some amount of inevitability around how we are attached to, um, systems that are chaotic or harmful. Um, and we don't absolve ourselves of the responsibilities that we have. We also understand compassionately the very complicated predicaments we find ourselves in order to survive and thrive.
Yeah, yeah. That showed up in a little way with the website I created for the consciousness deep dive, and I had these two pictures that went next to the questions that were different from the artwork that you saw. And there was something I was looking at, I could go into why they weren't right. It had to do with, are they racially diverse, or is it a white thing, or is there cultural appropriation going on one of these pictures? And a friend and a colleague called it out, and like she was concerned too. And together, like she knew this artist, and I was just waiting for someone to come along and help me and say, yeah. And I'm so much happier with what we have now. But what also occurred to me was at least being conscious about it is what really matters. So as I'm putting those pictures up, I'm thinking about it. And if somebody else mentions it, I wasn't defensive at all. I was just ready to say, yeah, but you noticed that too? Good. I wasn't sure if I was just being sort of hypercritical or not, right? But I think the process is more important again for me than maybe the outcome, in the sense that I'm never going to make perfect choices, but if I'm at least asking the questions as I go, that helps me to feel more okay with what happens and to deal with whatever the consequences are. Anything else to add as we wrap up here? Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All.
Thank you. That was great.